For centuries, sailors used the North Star as their ultimate fixed point. Unlike the planets that wander, the North Star stays still. It doesn't matter how violent the storm is, if you find that light, you know where you are going. You can liken sailing without your North Star to climbing a ladder which you've positioned to lead nowhere. We have been navigating purely by the waves. Every scandal, every boat crossing, every headline, we've been reacting to it. What exactly is the end game here? For Rex Regis, Plan B, everything I'm doing politically, what is my North Star? Before we go any further, I need you to actually listen. Connecting with thousands more people, hearing 10 times the valid opinions on British politics than I had before I started Plan B, combined with the playing out of recent scandals and further revelations my side, such as, for example, further release of the Epstein files, and furthering my own understanding of how some of the dogma apparent in Islam is comparable to the dogma in both Christianity and Judaism. For me, it's forced a total re-evaluation of what's worth martyring oneself for under the current globalised system. For these reasons, things are going to change in the way that my work is presented and the themes that I focus on in my political content going forward. Thus, this won't be a short video, it might actually be the longest one I've made. It's likely to challenge you. It will confront previous assumptions you may have made about me and what it is I stand for. I am not a Nazi, a pro-white advocate, nor am I a terrorist. I am a survival-based utilitarian. And it's high time that I place this ideology at the forefront of my content. It's an ideology and a vision that goes far beyond Plan B. You see, I've reached a new conclusion regarding the concept of fighting and potentially dying solely for British nationalism. To be blunt, it's a concept that's increasingly presenting itself as an illusion to me. So it goes like this, and this is why things are very unlikely to change, no matter how hard you try playing by the conventions. Now, to an extent, those conventions include wars. I'll preface this explanation with a statement. Collective will is the ultimate power. Not technologies, guns, laws, or politicians. People. People are the power. Nothing changes unless a sizable majority wants it to and is willing to take it by force. If the human race truly desired a different reality, a better way of life, we could manifest that before the sun sets today. The problem is, free will can be shaped and it can be bought. Thus, free will within the current status quo is an illusion, unless you're willing to think for yourself, which unfortunately the majority of us aren't. It's far easier to just comply, to not ask questions, to go along with whatever seems to be keeping you alive, right? And besides, dogmas can be instilled in a child from birth, as can a paralysing fear of speaking out against them. Even at school, global elites bankroll governments to push a particular educational curricula that pushes a certain agenda, ensuring the minds of impressionable students are colonised before they've even had a chance to formulate their own beliefs. Even as an adult, you can't vote for a particular political leader, party, or a better way of life if you don't know they exist. You see what the elites want you to see, and you vote between their manufactured, limited options. You see this elite, by whom I mean the guys actually running the planet, the WEF, BlackRock, Vanguard, the BIS, Palantir, the World Health Organization, Alphabet. These guys seized the information and education sphere and all means of production a long time ago. This means they already have the power to shape a population's thoughts to the point where they're willing to fight, torture, kill, even kill themselves over lies. In the current status quo, people think that they're exercising free will, that they have a choice in leadership, that they're fighting for a better way of life, that they're defending a flag, when in reality these choices might be better described as hypnosis. I can no longer deny to myself that I've seen this play out in real time. The Labour Party reform the Greens, it doesn't matter. Surges in their popularity don't happen by accident and they are very tightly controlled. Funnily enough, they tend to follow massive cash injections. Look at Nick Candy, the property tycoon who jumped from the Tories to become the treasurer of Reform UK. All of a sudden, I started seeing a lot more Reform merchandise and Reform advertisements. They seem to become much better known and more popular after that cash injection. Or Gary Lubner, the former Belron boss who poured 4.5 million into supporting labour. And even these millionaires are just the middle management for the globalist system, which answers to money and global control alone. When one of these billionaires or conglomerates drops millions into a national party, they're not answering the will of the people. They are buying a little bit of that party, that nation's dependency. They are taking over the puppet's strings. It's all contrived. It's an illusion. It's capital being deployed to distract us from the agendas and the powers that are really running the world. Now, some of these agendas are very dark.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia. Are you that powerful?
No, I think there's a great misunderstanding. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
However, things aren't as black and white as saying that anyone who exists in this system and is propagating it is evil themselves. Some well-meaning leaders might work their way up the globalist ladder, genuinely believing the planet needs safeguards against existential threats such as diseases, cosmic events, wars, and population problems.
What would it take to transition the whole world to sustainable energy? 100 gigafactories. So
100 of these.
100 of these, yes.
That would make the United States...
No, the whole world.
The whole world?
The whole world. All energy.
That's it?
Yeah.
But every single one of them is forgetting the inescapable reality of the human animal. We are wired necessarily for self-interest and local survival, not hive mind compliance. No central authority can force a single rulebook on billions of people and not expect chaos, mistrust, and a steady descent into tyranny. But unfortunately, this hasn't stopped them. In an attempt to bypass this, the elites have completely weaponized complexity and fear. They take nuanced realities and problems like climate change, population problems, and border disputes and inflate them into paralyzing existential crises that only they hold the key to solving. Hyperbolize the problem, offer the solution. It's the same strategy over and over and over again. It's a strategy of manufactured fragility. They dismantle your ability to survive, tie your heat and food to their grid, and then promise you safety from the very monsters that they've created. A very clever, wrought iron cage of control. And they maintain this helplessness to blind you to the only force that can tear the cage down. Collective will. The weight of the majority's choices. But most of us aren't exercising free will. We are playing out a script written by globalist architects. This script claims that your dependence on their systems is a necessity, but in reality, anything sold to you as a need beyond basic biological survival, something we once used to be able to achieve perfectly fine independently, is manipulation. It's hypnotism into doing another's bidding. And it's a hypnotism that can deceive us into doing all manner of things. The system seems desperate to goad Britain and much of Europe into a civil war.
When we talk about racism, why do we only focus on racism from white people?
Because white people are the ones that created the whole structure of racism.
Prior to like the 1600s, there was no idea of race. Whilst one ethnicity, you wouldn't date.
White girls, I can't do that.
White girls?
I can't do that, man. I need a little spice in my life, you get me?
What was that about?
White people are inferior.
White people are inferior?
I did that because I wanted to. Call the police. You
throw food at my girlfriend who's white because white people are inferior?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say to you. Call the police, it's fine.
The white British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes lads, we're winning.
Could you have imagined if a white media commentator had phrased the decrease of the non-white population in those terms?
What do you think about white men?
I think it's just the term white man, just immediate turn off.
What do you think of black men?
Love.
Do you think it's racist to, by default, not like white men?
I mean, I don't think so, because...
Good evening. A convicted terrorist is standing for election in Birmingham. T.R.I.B.E was convicted in Yemen in 1999 for conspiring to bomb the British consulate in Yemen, an Anglican church and a hotel.
If you're white and British and you live in the UK and you feel like the UK is becoming an anti-white country, you're not wrong. If you're a teacher in Wales, you get paid £5,000 less a year if you're white. Any other ethnicity and they'll pay you more. The fourth biggest police force in the UK banned white people from hiring. The biggest bank in Europe funded £2 million to 30 Oxford scholarships, and guess what are the qualifications to make it in? The biggest broadcasting platform in Europe banned white people from applying for a trainee role. Not one, but two members of the Scottish government stood up in front of Parliament and complained about how there was too many white people in and about every role and job and position, even when there's 17 times the amount of people of colour in UK Parliament today than there was in 1987. The UK police force has spent 15 million trying to lower the number of white people they employ. The Royal Air Force got their emails leaked, in which applicants were described as useless white males. God forbid they would have replaced the word white with anything else. Non-white people who apply for NHS jobs have their CV shortlisted, so being white means it's slower and less likely you get the job. White people have become a minority in at least 8 out of 51 English cities, and this number's kept increasing since 2001. White British children are now a minority in 1 in 4 schools, so now they're disappearing from our education system. 50% of all victims in racial attacks since 2006 has been white. Former member of the Labour government, Naz Shah, liked and retweeted a post on Twitter that said white girls who have been abused and exploited by Pakistani men should shut their mouths for the sake of diversity. NHS bosses now have to explain why they hired a white person. 12-year-olds are getting singled out and expelled from school for wearing clothing that celebrates British culture on Culture Day. The highest paid female footballer in the UK was caught on camera calling a police officer stupid and white. The UK government have attempted to ban the British flag to stop white British people from being proud and celebrating their culture, but every single other ethnicity and nationality can do so. Apparently, Britain's Olympic team is too white, and our women's football team. The Equality Act 2010 allows the practice of positive discrimination, which is the ability to hire someone of colour over a white person, even if they both have the same qualifications because they are someone of colour. The UK justice system was due to implement laws that would make vulnerable members of society, women, Muslims, people of colour, be granted more lenient sentences.
How did you honestly expect me to respond? Now, don't get me wrong, there's extremists operating on all sides here. I've had genuine racists and actual extremists contact me to get involved in Plan B, and I've had to turn them away. But there's still no denying the reality that the system itself and people like those shown in those clips seem desperate to pigeonhole ordinary British civilians as Nazis, extremists, racists, or terrorists in what is starting to seem worryingly like an attempt to wipe us out. They're encouraging the importation of hundreds of thousands of men from regions of the world that don't like us. The boats at Dover and the planes allegedly arriving at Stansted could be stopped overnight, and yet curiously the ruling elite do nothing.
So what's really going on here, huh? What's really going on here, huh? Yep. I know idiot shit, man.
I am here to rule. Fucking rule.
To rule?
I'm here to rule. To rule you, to rule Trump, to rule Elon Musk, to rule Netanyahu, to rule Jews.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. That's
with that attitude.
What a strange thing to say.
It would appear that the elites want to provoke a civil conflict that they can manage, because it gives them precisely the ammunition they need to crush us, along with anyone else that they deem too difficult to control. Now listen, I will fight and defend my family and values, but I will not fight, die, potentially spend time inside over a momentary battle that may soon just pale into insignificance, for a ladder that leads nowhere. So if we aren't fighting their war, what are we doing? We're changing the battlefield entirely. We will never have freedom nor happiness in huge societies governed by centralized authorities. Apply the survival-based utilitarian perspective to this, and it's not difficult to understand why. Just ask yourself, what do we actually need in life? Not necessarily what we want. What do we need? Shelter, energy, a water source, love, connection to continue our lineage. That is it. That is the baseline of a sane, meaningful existence. It's coded into our DNA and it drives much of our thoughts. But over centuries, these basic ingredients, this basic sanity, has been hijacked by the authorities. It's been commodified, packaged up, and then sold back to us by people who could not care less whether we live or die. Although they play a hand in it, the root of our suffering isn't bad politicians nor solely bad people. It's bad systems. It's handing our survival over to systems and authorities that don't value them for the sake of momentary convenience. It's the basic coupling of gargantuan societies with faceless centralized power. We need to be prepared for any conflict that's forced on us, and I hope my content and my channel has helped impress the urgency of that. But we're lying to ourselves by pretending that attacking the police, attacking immigrants, or political opponents does anything to stop that machine. It feeds it. It gives the elites the narrative they need to lock us away. And let's face it, none of us are in control here. Not us, not the guys coming in on boats, not the puppets in Westminster, and certainly not the guys arguing in my comments. We're fighting over scraps. Scraps that can be taken away at the flick of a switch. Any victory under this globalized system is an illusion. Any faction that rises high enough to threaten the institutions running the planet can be erased at the touch of a button. This brings me back to Plan B and the broader movement it now exists within. Absolute justice. Our generational vision for decentralized sovereign settlements. All of the work I've put into Plan B so far stands and will remain openly accessible at absolute-justice.com for people to learn from and share widely. However, I do need to represent it now for what it actually is. Plan B is now a decentralized training and readiness initiative for European patriots. It's a rung on our ladder to freedom, but it's not a destination in itself. Listen, we may well be headed for conflict in Britain, and we need to be ready for it. We need to be better than we have been. We need to be less weak, drunk, and apologetic. So Plan B is going nowhere. It simply won't be managed by me nor any central team. I am now completely shifting ongoing management to the local sphere, to be managed by you guys yourselves. This is your call to galvanize, train, share intel, and prepare for the worst yourselves locally. You don't need me, a central leader, nor an application form to do that. Plan B is still a rallying call for Britain to wake up, to spread the word of what is really going on in Westminster and above. It's a demand that we stop living asleep and start taking ownership of our own survival. It's your call to be better, to stop drinking, to get fit, link up with regional activist groups and train with them, establish fitness sites and clubs of like-minded patriots locally. Build the courage to patrol your own neighbourhood when the police won't, or at least pledge now to intervene in injustice when you see it playing out in front of you. Don't just walk away from it or film it. When the police and the authorities fail us, as they have done, what other choice do we have? You don't need a brand, a licence, a certificate, a central leader to do this. You can do it yourself. Thus, for absolute clarity, Plan B is not a declaration of war. It's simply a declaration of readiness. My generational vision is to gradually step back from the unwinnable globalist rat race. Over decades or perhaps even centuries, reorganise into optimally sized sovereign settlements. Imagine independent cells of human life, bigger than cities, smaller than countries, and thousands of times smaller than the borderless, unaccountable global hierarchies the elites are trying, successfully, to establish. Big enough for a comfortable quality of life through shared skills and labour, small enough to know and trust most of your settlement, and to hold your local leaders accountable. High-trust communities of like-minded, largely independent families, achieving near-total energy sovereignty through solar electrification, household biogas, battery storage, and any other energy sources that can be sourced locally, all of which could be grounded on local nuclear energy. Settlements where people don't just survive, they thrive, producing their own resources, policing their own streets, defining their own cultures, deciding amongst themselves who is welcome and who isn't. Life on their own terms. I think most of us would prefer that freedom, the freedom to live and die by our own rules, as opposed to spending every single day a slave to global news headlines, unable to distinguish between truth and lie, bleeding ourselves dry and destroying personal relationships just to salute some arrogant, soulless OCD boss every day, some corporate manipulator who thrives on control, themselves just a cog in a centuries-old globalist machine. Do you honestly believe that's what we're on this earth to do? Our purpose in life?
You're just a number to me.
A sovereign settlement free from the constraints of globalism would be more than just energy, crops, and independence. Those are just the hardware. A society also needs software to run. It needs a soul. Which brings us to the inevitable question: what role does religion, ideology, and morality play in this? We have to understand that at their core, ethical codes, religions included, are just frameworks. They're maps that humans have drawn to give themselves a sense of higher purpose. We are biological creatures, yes, but our intelligence also makes us creatures of meaning. We need to know why we are struggling to survive, what it's all going to be for in the long run. In the current globalist system, we are thrown into a chaotic melting pot of conflicting maps. We are told to coexist with diametrically opposed definitions of right and wrong, which inevitably leads to friction, mistrust, and the erosion of community. Some people simply don't care. They're ignorant and they want to stay ignorant. It's not an intelligence or an opportunities issue. They just don't care. And some people are never going to change. For this reason, it's my honest belief that sometimes you have to just let people be different. Stop propping others up. Stop worrying about trying to convert them. Focus on you, your family, the ones you trust, and let them collapse under the weight of their own ignorance. We should all have the freedom in this respect, to choose a community that best matches our moral compass, not the one that we're born into by happenstance. For me, when it comes to religious morals, I would say this firmly. If a society cannot separate its faith from the dogma within that faith, then it is every bit as authoritarian and oppressive as its secular counterpart. I mean, look, there is no doubt in my mind that something very special happened in the Middle East all those thousands of years ago. Something that profoundly influenced the minds of billions of people, past to present. But as intelligent, critical thinkers, we have to accept the basic fact that there is no provable connection between religion and truth. These holy books, they were all written by human beings, not gods themselves, and human beings get things wrong. No one can say whether a god exists as he's described in these holy books, or whether anything in them is accurate. Only reason, innovation, and a hard focus on reality can guide us to peace and freedom. It's the only thing that can solve existential threats like resource scarcity, population problems, diseases, cosmic events, wars, and indeed, globalism. Modern problems like this aren't expressly mentioned or solved in the Bible, Torah, or Quran. We don't need ancient stories to tell us how to survive. We need sovereignty, science, and pragmatism, combined with the courage to face the universe as it actually is. Does this mean religion should be forgotten? No. Just the bits in them that are unhelpful and cause unnecessary suffering to innocent beings. We need to stop tolerating prominent individuals in our societies that force these destructive dogmas on us at the expense of our liberties and at times even our survival.
Who's going to be the last man standing? Esav or Yishmael? By the way, my message to both of them is we wish both of them to wipe each other out. And we all feel very comfortable here in the Western world. Yeah, you know, America will protect us and America will conquer Yishmael and then Mashiach will come. But whatever it is, we wish both sides of wiping out the other party.
Just to clarify as well, yes, jizya is taken from the non-Muslims. We're taking in exchange for your blood, for your life. Do you understand? This is mentioned by the commentators of the Quran as well. The Mufassirin, they've explained, the Fuqaha have gone into detail. And why are we taking this is because you are a rebellion. You are rebellious against Allah.
But we must retain a sense of balance. The liberalised West isn't so perfect, it's just a step ahead. For example, it's easy for us to look to the Middle East and villainise some Muslims for their harsh positions on apostasy.
Deuteronomy 13. This chapter sucks. Can't believe it, but I'm actually missing numbers. Deuteronomy 13 deals with how to handle anyone who is committing the sin of apostasy, which is a fancy way of saying leading them to another god. In every scenario, the solution is the same. Death, like complete destruction, actually. It's pretty intense.
The main difference between the East and the West is the Enlightenment. Because of the dogma that comes with religion, we forced it into the private sphere. This is what gave birth to modern science, universities, medicine, advanced weapon and energy systems, space travel, critical, free thought.
What are you thinking?
Much of the Middle East simply hasn't had that historical moment yet. It's not about arguing over which god or faith is better. It's understanding that any faith, if left unchecked by liberty and reason, will naturally evolve into a tyranny. Survival-based utilitarianism, itself secular, is the antidote. not to religion, but to the soullessness of raw secularism. It replaces the moral absolutism and sense of purpose that's lost from removing religion entirely. From today onwards, I will be relentlessly prioritizing this ideology in my content, relentlessly driving a survival-based utilitarian movement for change that vastly transcends patriotism, nationalism, and the short-term squabbles of politics. This ideological movement will firmly place the maximization of survival and, by necessity, happiness at the heart of everything we do. It's not hard to conceive how, someday, us survival-based utilitarians may then come out on top. But what actually is the link between happiness, purpose, and survival? It turns out that they're intrinsic. They are one and the same. Happiness is not some magic dust. We feel the most happy and the most content when we feel like our survival is being preserved, that it's being maximized. When you know your family is safe, your resources are secure, and your future is in your own hands. That is true internal peace and happiness, for the sane and rationally minded anyway. As such, maximizing survival is a self-resolving purpose. You aren't wasting your life worrying about an afterlife that no one can prove. You are living in the moment, maximizing the quality of life for yourself and others right here, right now. If there is someone waiting for us in an afterlife, I'm sure they'd look on that favorably. While it pays to wonder, dream, and explore, people living in this positive emotional space aren't doing so in some desperate search for meaning. They're doing so for the love of the game, secure in their moral foundations. They have already found purpose in the duty of staying alive, building and protecting a family. Freedom. We have to fight the good fight ourselves independently, individually, more than we have been doing, through every tool we have at our disposal, and we need to stop waiting for someone else to do it for us. We flip the Darwinian paradigm in our favour then. The bravest, the strongest, the smartest, the most intelligent, and the most collaborative and empathetic will be the ones who survive and dominate over the long term if we activate enough of us. And this is it, the survival-based utilitarian's Darwinian trump card. In a chaotic, crazy world, the society that is the most moral, the most rational, the most intelligent, and the most ready is the one that survives. The one that weathers the storms of not only physical battle, but diseases, antibiotic resistance, cosmic events, and nuclear threats. The one that reaches its North Star. Our website, absolute-justice.com, outlines a generational plan for realising the decentralised sovereign peace settlement vision and total withdrawal from the globalist system that goes beyond the scope of this video. But you could summarise the foundation of my plan to save the world with my proposed T.R.I.B.E protocol. We can't fix a system designed to fail us, but thinking T.R.I.B.E returns human nature to a scale where it actually functions. This is not a political campaign, a protest, nor a war. It is a systematic, generational withdrawing of consent and the steady reclaiming of our tribal autonomy. It goes like this. T. This in fact covers 3 T's: target, territory, and train. We begin with targeted recruitment of the working class and those with the moral clarity to lead. The ruling class won't be interested as the system benefits them. In fact, they may be actively obstructive. We establish territory by slowly planning de facto borders, limited to a maximum of 100,000 to 1 million people to ensure trust and accountability. Simultaneously, we train for eventual conflict, handing our resilience and strength down the generations and preparing our people to defend the spaces we will claim. R is for resource. We focus on core resource acquisition, including food, water, energy, survival skills, and stockpiling information. By securing these assets independently, we gradually bypass the grid and ensure our survival is no longer a bargaining chip for the state. I is for insulate. We place buffers around our communities. We prioritise relationships with survival-based utilitarians and collectivise. Teach your children trades, carpentry, electrics, mechanics, skills that AI cannot fake and that globalists cannot turn off. We become dangerous to the system by simply being capable, self-reliant, and aware. B is for build. This is the relentless growth of the network's resources, reach, and power. We build large, extended families. We embed our ideology through sovereign education, community patrols, and regular meets, ensuring the movement strengthens with every generation. And the final letter, E, is for exit. The final stage is the formal withdrawal of consent. Once our parallel systems of justice, economy, and energy reach maturity, we achieve sovereign independence and simply walk away from the old social contract. Please don't get me wrong. I am not shunning or downplaying the short-term benefits of a nationalist revolution in Britain. The difference between a nation-centric Britain and a global-centric Britain would not be a subtle one. We could cease any further subservience to globalist treaties and resource-draining international mandates. A nationalist administration could repatriate our energy policy, prioritise local agrarian output, and provide the legislative shield necessary for sovereign peace settlements to flourish without being strangled by the endless red tape of the EU, NATO, WEF, central banks and technocrats. This is just not the cause I will be solely focusing on, nor potentially martyring myself over anymore. Plenty of other nationalists are doing so anyway, who perhaps aren't living paycheck to paycheck, and have no knowledge or understanding of the long-term route to freedom that the sovereign peace settlement model offers. I have to carry this vision into the future. For my kids and for their kids, I must prioritise this over all else. Because the risk with placing nationalism as a North Star is this: if the nationalist movement were to trade globalist tyranny for a local version of dogmatic, unthinking authoritarianism, we would be no closer to the North Star than minimised suffering. I cannot stake everything I'm doing on a momentary fight that might close the borders just that little bit faster than reform or advance UK, but leave us trapped in a new darkness, where independent thought is still a crime, and the survival of good people remains a secondary concern to the ego of the state. Ultimately, while they might win battles transiently, it's not swords, guns, or fists that win generational wars. It's the will of the people. It's vast numbers of strong, independent, awakened individuals choosing a superior way of life. Survival-based utilitarianism within the decentralised sovereign peace settlement model is that way of life. It is the cause I will be investing the majority of my effort into now, over political theatre. If we spread this idea far enough, this includes to other regions of the world, there will come a time when we hit critical mass, where we become a critical threat to the globalist machine and the crazy authoritarian regimes that are allowed to proliferate within it. We are talking about a world where you're the master of your own destiny, where you're no longer at the mercy of some sociopathic, suit-wearing boss who calls the shots on your life purely because he's better at corporate backstabbing than you are. An end to a system that spent decades manipulating us into believing that we're too stupid, weak, or dependent to sustain ourselves. They want you to think you need them, while they treat you like little more than a disposable battery in a machine that does not care if you burn out. They act like they're a different species just because they were born into the right postcode, or have a brain that delivers a snarky insult faster than the honest worker just looking to get by. They look down on the man with dirt under his fingernails, while they oversee a system that profits from child abuse, labour exploitation, and animal torture, and a justice system where terrorists, paedophiles and rapists get cushy sentences while the working man is taxed into the grave. This is a system that none of us consented to. It's a rigged game run by people who aren't better than any of us, they're just more ruthless. Survival-based utilitarianism within the decentralised sovereign peace settlement model is the way out. Not Christianity, not nationalism, not the empty promises of a rigged political system. For that reason, it's the cause I'll be investing the majority of my effort into now over political theatre and flags. Because a flag won't feed your kids when the supply chain snaps, and a politician won't protect your streets when the chaos starts. So consider this the master plan. We haven't dropped Plan B, we've expanded it. We've recontextualised it within a broader vision for change, one that goes far beyond the borders of a single nation and prioritises good, deserving people wherever they exist, who base good and bad over how much something causes unnecessary suffering, not on ancient dogmas, inherited status, political party membership, or bank balances. We are beginning the process of secession, of withdrawing our consent today. And it won't be easy. We're talking about a generational long game, a freedom that our children might experience someday, or perhaps their children, but a vision we're unlikely to see in our own lifetimes. But it will be an ultimate freedom and a true peace, and it will be us who built it. That is the satisfaction we will carry to our graves. Let's stop fighting battles and start winning wars. Get yourself over to www.absolute-justice.com. Subscribe, read and understand the theory. A freer, happier, sovereign future starts today.